So Radha Londonishvara are attracting us all. They literally are the controllers of London, controlling our hearts. And of course, I'm sure you've all heard the story of how they came to be here and how they came to attract us to them. And I actually wasn't going to say anything very much. I've got a little offering. I'd like to read that to Radha Londonishvara if I may now. And then
Are you carried Radha Londonishvara from very place
Radharani, Srimati Radharani.
That's where you came.
Not the whole way, we had a vehicle. Yes, that's right. That's right. Hmm? That was one cold winter's night, I think. I really can't remember exactly what it was.
78, year after.
78.
We moved when this place was finally ready. Yes, it was. Yeah.
You brought the gins.
Yeah. Rancho carried Krishna and I carried.
I saw you carrying Radharani.
That's right. It was a highlight of my life, really. That's the bit. So I'll just read my offering if I may. Dear Sri Sri Radha Londonishvara, big city lights sometimes beckoned, but the beauty of your glance upon us proved the brighter jewel, and you became the axis of our London and beyond, as we danced and sang before you in Kirtan's special trance. Out of hiding you came, at the call of your beloved dancing puppet Abhay Charan, and, a puppet in his hands, you stayed in Soho's sleazy, sleepy lands, to reel us in, one by one, through your loving doors, to lay our youthful years at your feet, and to serve you, serve you, serve you, from the basement kitchen floor, throughout all the corners to the trembling roof. And now, as autumn's golden days of age dance mild with coloured charm, we bathe our minds afresh in the love-filled mirrored pools of your eyes, and play and sing, and laugh and cry again, with the same sweet fellow members of your tribe. Sri Sri Radha Londonishvara ki jai. That's it.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Actually, I am the most insignificant person, so I think actually I shouldn't sit here. And actually, you would like me to speak something? What do you say?
Please.
So, if you allow me to speak from my heart. So, first, I am very impressed by seeing this temple, especially these flowers here, very much struck my heart. You know, it's all natural flowers. Prabhupada doesn't want it artificial flowers. And I am just very surprised to see this around Radha Londonishvara, this exotic, the most expensive, beautiful flowers around the temple. And this is, deities also are looking so beautiful. This is just showing how much love and affection devotees are here showing, and how pure they are, like pure devotional service. I just feel this wonderful atmosphere here, and also looking at Srila Prabhupada at this most beautiful garland with roses. Srila Prabhupada was liking very much roses, and one time he says to Jayapataka, it was in America, please give me one rose and I will live longer. Because these roses, Prabhupada liked very much flowers, because it's made by Krishna, and Krishna is so beautiful. Prabhupada liked yellow roses especially, and I can see on his garland these yellow roses. So devotees here, they are very thoughtful. I can just see this every step. And for this I am thinking very much. It's make my heart very happy. And to see Srila Prabhupada on an altar is looking completely like a real. It's completely amazing. Thank you very much for this incredible service. And also, actually, I depend completely on mercy of Vaishnavas. So I am sitting here, but it's nothing to do with me, because I must say that, for instance, this Rohinandana, I met him here in London. He is such a merciful, such a wonderful devotee. This time I was a Sankirtan devotee, and actually it was not very opulent. It was difficult, to make nice prasadam. And I never forget, when I was going morning on Sankirtan, Rohinandana was so merciful, he was so thoughtful that we are going for a whole day and it will be so difficult to meet people, preach to him, convince about Krishna consciousness. So he was trying to prepare for us the best prasadam, even it was so difficult because it was not so much money here in this temple. But I can't forgotten this wonderful cereal that he was making for us. So with all his heart he was putting oats and yogurt and dates and raisins, everything, whatever possible was in this cereal. And I was so happy to have this wonderful cereal. And when I go on Sankirtan, I am so thankful. I was stronger. I was thinking, this is not that all Krishna loves us, but also devotees, they are very loving, and we depend on their mercy. So we totally depend on mercy of Rohinandana here, because this time he was very prominent devotee, and always Srila Prabhupada says enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is the most important. Patience, enthusiasm first. So Rohinandana is very enthusiastic devotee. You were seeing today his kirtan, he's just always, after all these years, so many years, he's already here, and so much enthusiasm is in his heart. Prabhupada says enthusiasm is first, after is patience, after is sadhana bhakti. So these are very important points, and straightforward dealings, no hypocrisy, no duplicity. So I try not to be hypocrite, and I try to speak to you from my heart what I am really feeling. And is this okay? And after Srila Prabhupada says, actually the last point is sadhu sangha. This is association with devotees. So this sadhu sangha is the most important. Whatever I am and how much I am elevated, also this is all by Srila Prabhupada mercy. But I was even initiated by letter. I was not initiated by Srila Prabhupada personally. I was initiated in very place. Devotees needed me to do service in a kitchen. They write a letter to Srila Prabhupada. So this is association is so important. So actually I depend on mercy of the devotees. And all my god brothers and god sisters show me extreme mercy, because I was invited here to work in hospital in Aylesbury. I was a physiotherapist as a karmi, and I was invited to hospital in Earl Street to work as a physiotherapist. So I met devotees when I visit London on Oxford Street. And I was very astonished to see these wonderful boys and girls. This time I was 39 years old, so I was thinking I'm very old, I can't join such a group. But the sound vibration struck my heart, because I just this time was praying to Lord Jesus Christ. I was very attached to Lord Jesus Christ because I come from Roman Catholic family from Poland. So I was praying to Lord Jesus Christ with all my heart to send me to missionary work to Korea, because in that time it was in Korea war. But you know, suddenly I received invitation to Hare Krishna temple in very place, and it was right down that they practice Bhakti Yoga. In Poland I was practicing Hatha Yoga, so I wanted to see what it is. When I come to this temple, and I hear about 4 religious principles: no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex life. So I understand that these people here, they strictly follow instructions of Lord Jesus Christ. Therefore, I immediately joined this movement, and I never move one step from Hare Krishna, the most important movement on this planet. So I understood they follow, they are not hypocrite, and they are not, they are strictly follow instructions of Srila Prabhupada. So when I come, I opened the door, it was in very place, and I saw it was big picture. We can have some. Thank you very much. It was a big picture of Putana, and you know, huge Putana, huge picture. She was black, and she was naked, and her breast was also naked, big, and on the top was sitting little Krishna. So I saw that. I was thinking, oh my God, what is this? Naked woman with breast naked like that? But I was not this time, fortunately, artificial. I understood that this is not important, but I didn't know that this is Krishna and Putana. But these 4 religious principles, this it was for me the most important to hear. And after actually Roncho Prabhu, also devotees impressed me so much, Sarva Mangala, and all of them, they impressed me so much. I just wanted to follow in their footsteps. I just saw how much elevated they are. Like also Prabhu Vishnu, he is now Maharaj. This time he was just ordinary devotee. And also Mahavishnu, who is just now here, impressed me very much. I used to wear a blue jean, always this blue jean, and I was never hippie. But I liked these hippies, and I was thinking, my God, why I'm not a hippie? Because in Poland it was no hippies. So I was thinking, this is very wonderful. So I liked to wear this. You know, I was in complete ignorance, of course, because I didn't have any knowledge. I didn't have any real knowledge, because first lecture Srila Prabhupada I was hearing in very place, and Srila Prabhupada says, God is a person. And when he said that, I was completely astonished. I was going sometimes to Catholic Church, not too much, because I didn't like this hypocrisy. But I was hearing priests sometimes, but never nobody told me that God is a person. And I had 39 years old this time. So, you know, this was an amazing statement for me. And I met Mahavishnu. He was also not a sannyasi this time. And they was extremely kind to me. They offered me flowers. They offered me full love and affection. They didn't even know me. They encouraged me to join this movement, and this impressed me so much. And Mahavishnu One time it was like, I don't know which day it was, but come a big van, and Mahavishnu say, please, Christina, or maybe not say Christina, I don't know, I was not initiated this time, it was my name, and he say, come, we go to market to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, he dragged me on a big van on the top. He was there. He was always extremely enthusiastic, Mahavishnu. He was completely mad, actually. He was mad, and he was on this big truck, sitting up, and, and we go to market. And in this market, we was chanting with all our heart Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And these people were so surprised what it is, because it was maybe 72 or 70, right, like 72. So, they start to throw tomatoes on us and different, juices. And it was, I was very surprised, that they couldn't understand actually what we are doing. And also in the beginning, I was sometimes, when I was distributing books, actually we didn't have any books, but just Back to Godhead. So I was going on Oxford Street with this Back to Godhead. It's finished now, I should finish? No. So can I speak again? It is okay? So now we had this Back to Godhead, and just policemen sometimes come and he just arrested me. And one time they put me to prison for a whole night, and I was sitting with prostitutes. And these policemen completely didn't know what to do with us. They didn't know this Hare Krishna. So they was asked me put my hands up. And they put it on my body, hands looking and searching if I have some, maybe, weapons with me. And they was asking what we are doing. So I was explaining that we would like to distribute actual love to God, and they didn't trust us. They was thinking they're very materialistic people, like we was also before. And they was just thinking that we come here, on the streets to make money. So it was great difficulties. And also, so devotees like Vichitravirya Prabhu, he is now very sick actually, he is leaving body, but he was a president, and because, I was very attached, I didn't speak very well English, I didn't understand everything properly, but I was understanding about 6 Goswamis, that they were sitting on a tree, and they was not eating, so I was extremely attractive not to eat and to sit on a tree. So I was thinking that, this is very comfortable life, you don't need to work so much. I was, very lazy, like in Kali Yuga, everybody. So I was thinking, if you don't eat, so you don't need to work so much. So they stop to eat, they stop to sleep and sit on a tree. So I was thinking, this is a very good idea, because it became really very wonderful. So, I didn't understand, unfortunately, everything very well, but whenever I come to the temple and devotees begging me, offering me Mahaprasadam, I say, no, I thank you very much. I don't want to eat it, and it was very offensive, because, Maha is no different from Krishna, Prasadam is no different from Krishna, and one time Shivaram Maharaj was giving lecture how it is offensive and what terrible, reaction you take not accepting prasadam if you can't eat. So at least he says you touch and you put, accept this. So like this it will be no any offense. But I was doing this for 7 months. I don't want it to eat. And I was often sometimes eat one fruit, so I was completely actually fasting. Or sometimes also I didn't understand philosophy completely, so I drink tea, in a house when I was living, because I didn't understand that we don't allow to drink tea. And result was that after 7 months I became like a skeleton, and I was refusing this prasadam, so it was very offensive. So Krishna punished me, and actually I had a nervous breakdown. Unfortunately, it was just only once in this life. But I had this, and I was in hospital, and devotees was so merciful. Balagopala, I was not even initiated, and she was so merciful. She came to the hospital, and she bring a big lamp of Manglarti sweets. So this is first time that I had a contact with Manglarti sweets. And you know, I was not completely normal, and I was saying to her, Prabhu, I am Radharani myself. So she understood that I am not completely, you know, sane, but I was thinking in this hospital that I am completely sane because I know Krishna, and they are not right to keep me in this hospital for actually like mentally sick or something like that. And I feel great separation from the devotees. So, you know, I had very difficult beginning in Hare Krishna. Very, very difficult. So what I did when nobody was watching me, I just escaped from this bed in hospital, and I had a very little pantalon, short like this, and blouse, and I go on a street and I start to run to the temple, to bury a place. So people was looking at me because I was not actually dressed. And you know, I arrived to bury place, just straightforward, go to Radha Londonishvaras, not dressed, naked, you know, legs and little brows. And devotees was extremely compassionate, and they actually didn't reject me, even I was in such a perplexed condition. And also I says, I must go to see my mom, because my mom is the only person who can help me, not one else. I didn't understand that only Krishna can help me. And I said, yes, I must go. They say, no, please don't go to see my mom. But unfortunately, I escaped to Poland to see my mom. And when my mom saw me, and I was all the time chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My mom said, oh my God, what is this? She is completely mentally sick. What's happened to my daughter? She is from Roman Catholic family. What she is doing? So I sit in a room and I don't want to do anything eat. I say I can't eat any meat. So she was buying fruits, and she was buying for me dry fruits. But I was constantly chanting Hare Krishna. And unfortunately, she went to the doctor and said, my daughter is very, very sick. She is all the time chanting Hare Krishna. Please come to see her and take her to hospital for mentally sick. So unfortunately, doctor came and he said, so you chant Hare Krishna? I say, yes, Krishna is God and Radharani is his girlfriend. So when I said that, doctor said, come, my dear, come with us, you know, and they close me to hospital and make injection every day. That I forgotten Krishna, but my mother ultimately understood that I can't be cured from this disease, and after some time she gave me back a passport, and I was able to come back to the temple, and devotees accepted me. So now what my realization is that Mother Jamuna Devidasi, in the beginning when I started to cook this Manglarti sweets, she encouraged me. I didn't deserve that. She writes down wonderful article about this Manglarti sweets. Dhananjaya Prabhu, Balagopala, they are all Umapati Prabhu. He also showed me great mercy because I was in America, in New Vrindavan, and Umapati was there. And actually when Kirtanananda Maharaj started to deviate from Krishna consciousnness, so Umapati immediately moved from this temple, so I follow on his footsteps. So in every step, devotees was helping me, Mukunda Maharaj, also Malati. When I was in very place, suddenly Malati arrived I didn't know who is Malati because I was very short, I was not initiated, but they allowed me to come to the kitchen to wash her pots. And you know, Malati, she came and she started to buy. It was very poor, extremely poor. So, you know, even if we would like to cook offering for Radha Londonishvaras, so devotees were going outside, you know, the temple, it was little shop, they buy one cauliflower, few potatoes and tomatoes, and in this way it was cooked, you know, offering to Radha Londonishvara. So Malati, she came, probably it was from India, and she immediately started to buy pots for Radha Londonishvara, very beautiful pots. So I was so surprised to see that, and after very soon she left. And I was meditating how it is possible. She doesn't want it anything, just for nothing. She bought this pots, and she doesn't want it anything from us, because my mind was very materialistic this time. So I couldn't understand that somebody can be so pure. But you know, this thing impressed me very much. And also Guru Das, every of them helped me. He came, you know, I was in church in the kitchen in a very place, and he asked for a Maha Guru Das. It was husband of Mother Jamuna. And we offered in this prasadam, and after plate arrived down, you know, outside the kitchen, and this was remnants of tomato skin, you know, and they say that Guru Dasiko complained that I am cooking tomatoes with skin, because you can't digest that, and Mother Jamuna will never do things like that. So you see, this impressed me this time beyond imagination. I just take this to my heart. And I just understand that these devotees are so elevated, and they actually know what to do in Krishna consciousness. And now, so all these devotees actually helped me, and now many devotees also, they are helping me. So association, like Srila Prabhupada says, is the most important. Association with devotees. We should run to the devotees in any price, because this is only hope, chanting this Maha Mantra and associating with devotees. So now also devotees like Shrutidam, like Pranabandhu, like Radhakanta Prabhu, like Shivaram Maharaj, Smita, Radhakanta, right? So these all devotees, they are helping me. And concerning Mangalati sweets, actually I have not so much to do with this Mangalati sweets, because it is that I am working very hard to make the best sweets possible. But actually we have very qualified artists, and there is many of them: Suchirani, Suravi, Sudevi Sundari, Vrata Vilasini, Bauna, Raka, Jyotsna, and they are actually mad to paint these sweets. They are all graduates from schools, and they like to do this service. And this is only one service, to paint it sweet, that you can enter to the deity kitchen when you are not initiated. So this is very wonderful, because it's like Bhavna, she is coming 20 years to the movement, and she said that only Srila Prabhupada is her guru. And actually, she doesn't want to take initiation, because actually she says, even I prefer to become a Ritvik. But now, after 20 years coming to the temple, she became very attracted to painting these sweets. And fortunately, she can enter to the kitchen without initiation. She is not initiated. This is only possible come to the deity kitchen. And when she is seeing how we are working in a deity kitchen, cooking for Radha Gokulananda with great actual love and affection, so she becomes so attracted that probably she will take this initiation now. Altogether, I would like to tell you that everything concerning myself depends completely on the mercy of incredibly merciful Vaishnavas who accepted me and helped me, elevate me. I am not completely Krishna consciousness, but I try to be best, and I can't repay my debts to all these Vaishnavas, and of course Srila Prabhupada is my guru, and is also guru to everybody. He is Siksha Guru to all of us. So there is no question of any fall downs. Hare Krishna.
Just a quick, there was one other time actually, I was the temple president at the time, for various historical reasons. Apparently all the devotees left the temple. And I had some guests that were coming to the temple, and Radha Londonishvara needed to be fed. So, I mean, they were so totally honoured and privileged and so respectful. It was just wonderful to see. You know, Prabhupada put Krishna in our hands. You know, I remember the story in Australia, for instance. Prabhupada, after he installed Radha Krishna, what are the names of these in Australia? They sang them this morning. Australia?
Radha Gopinath.
Who were the first? Radha Gopinath. Yes. So when he went, he was praying that, I just left you here in the hands of all these young, they don't know anything, and well, lectures, yeah. So then he prayed that you give them the intelligence to look after. So I've always felt that Radha Londonishvaras, especially, is so accessible, especially in buried places. It was so close, even here, And so that time, there were so many guests. They were cooking the offering for Radha Londonishvaras. It was just like so. Krishna consciousness is so powerful that just like that, somebody can wake up and become Krishna conscious. It's not a difficult thing. The difficult is, I know that they're in my mind, and on our minds where the difficulties lie. The actual process, is so easy for anybody. So thank you for coming with.
I don't feel I can say anything until I've said how beautiful the altar looks today. And not only has it looked beautiful today, but for 7 days. Satyanarayan Prabhu, his wife, Madri, Shital, Ananta, and I'm sure you had some helpers, have worked tirelessly. I saw Ananta the other day and I said, have you had some sleep? He said, I had 5 hours the other day. And I heard stories about people sort of taking a couple of hours in the sewing room. And anyway, they worked tirelessly and made the designs and all the ideas. And the devotion, obviously, is so obvious by the beauty of the wonderful things they've been doing every single day. So I think we should give them a huge round of applause for their amazing And as Rohini was saying, Radha Londonishvara, they all seem so accessible, and that is the real beauty of this temple. You come in and you feel that you're standing right there with Radha and Krishna. And I think Krishna has tricked us. She's actually there looking at us and we're looking at him. He's actually really Krishna. So the mercy is amazing. And I remember when I first came to this temple, I was tricked to coming here actually. I was going to an interview to an art college in London, and I met the devotees on the bus. And I had my roll of paintings. And when I saw the devotees, he said, oh, come and stay with us for one night, because I was going to stay with someone else. So, okay then, because I'd met them a couple of times in Newcastle. And as I was going across the road, my roll of paintings fell off my little wheelbarrow and a truck went over it. I thought, but they weren't harmed at all. I thought, it's really weird. How's that happened? Anyway, I came up and I spoke to Rohinandana, and he looked at my paintings and he said, you could come and paint for Krishna. And I thought, oh, I don't know about this. But anyway, his words went in there, and I kept thinking, wouldn't it be better to do all these things for Krishna? And it kept niggling me. You know. And anyway, couple of months later, I ended up joining the temple. Various things happened. Krishna's mercy. And Rohinandana and Radha have given so much mercy to so many devotees who walked through that door, not just me and my stupid old paintings, but many great souls who've come and heard the words and the spiritual wisdom. But mostly I would say that the main thing that the Prabhupada disciples have given us is Srila Prabhupada. We feel, because of them, we feel that we have got Srila Prabhupada, like we've met him. I know, I've been sitting this week listening on the internet and in some of the classes. I've been listening to all the stories of Prabhupada, and you find yourself thinking that you know Prabhupada, and you have to think, well, actually, I didn't meet Prabhupada, but did I? Oh, maybe I have. And Prabhupada's real, and I like that. And I was on the coach yesterday from that amazing venue. It was ecstatic. It was amazing. And I was saying to one of the devotees, it's such a shame I never met Prabhupada. I was lamenting. But now I'm thinking, because I've got the Prabhupada disciples, I've got Prabhupada. And she said, well, that's a nice realization. She said, but really, if you think on in years to come, it's not that when the Prabhupada disciples are gone, any more than that Prabhupada is gone, that ISKCON will dwindle into some museum with all memories and things. Because she says, these books, these are where Prabhupada is. And the devotees in the future, they will read these books and they will be inspired, and they will have Srila Prabhupada with them. And their Shakti will keep this movement going, and people will get inspiration. And we can have another 40th, 50th, 10 millionth, 100th anniversary of Radha Londonishvaras temple, because the Shakti will just carry on growing, because people will be getting it from Srila Prabhupada's books. So I thought that was a really wonderful thing. So, should I let someone else speak now?
For my obeisances, chiefly Radha Londonishvara. And my obeisances to all of you wonderful Vaishnavas, guests, and my apologies for being a speaker. Radha Londonishvara, like the first deities I ever saw in my life, and as we've spoken before, how the altar at Berry Place was so close to the floor, and we were so close to you. It was the most beautiful altar I've ever seen, and so simple. I was 16. I wanted to find the quintessential quality of love that a human being is capable of. And you brought me to your lotus feet. A beautiful temple like an upturned boat. I think I always lived in a cloud and a dream, but it was the most beautiful dream I'd ever seen. I couldn't understand, and still don't understand very much philosophy or anything, but it's the most beautiful dream, and it's a reality. It's a dream that can be a reality, that is a reality, to be able to serve Radha and Krishna with our total, full self, heart, soul, mind, body. This is what Srila Prabhupada gave us. It's immeasurable, the quality of bhakti. So I was visiting, and I remember Kalangana coming every day with a flower, early in the morning, with a flower to the temple. I remember very well. And I was living at Mum and Dad's, and I would go home after a day at the temple with the devotees gave me a bag of halva. And I would eat it on the train on the way home. The whole lot. But after we spent a few hours in the temple, I'm sure everyone, the smells of the cooking and the incense. I was asked to clean the floor. It was white tiles, plastic tiles, I think, at the entrance. And I was told that when we're cleaning for Krishna, we're cleaning our hearts. I was so blessed and honoured to be able to clean the floor. So I was on my hands and knees cleaning, and of course devotees were coming in the front door, and I was so excited every time another devotee came I could clean more because the footsteps were coming over the damp floor. So I could clean more for you, Radha Londonishvara. By the time I was 17, I'd come to live somehow or other by your grace. We had bunk beds, I believe, at the time that were 3 tiers high, so I was a new girl, so I was put on the top, about that far from the ceiling. And I was so amazed because devotees were chanting Hare Krishna in their sleep. And they would just toss and say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. I was very blessed, and I'm still to be amongst all of you. I'm so sorry I don't have anything else to say.
Since you're talking about yourselves, as a guest, there was a kirtan in Prabhupada was saying the Premadwani. So everyone popped down, and I was, why should I do this? You know, so I just stood there. So it was Prabhupada, and I saw Prabhupada just asking, and everyone was down. But I decided I would bow down next time. But I'm sure you've heard these, and we say it again, but there were people sleeping literally on the stairs, up in the roof, in the raft. You go in the morning to clean your teeth, and there'll be somebody lying under the sink. You know, it was just so crammed up. Because everyone, if Prabhupada would come, and all the Amsterdam devotees would come over, and there would be programs. In fact, actually, last night, I hope everyone got the tube home, but looked a little on the edge because there was a lot of us very late. But one time the Dutch devotees were visiting here, there was a program in Belsize, I think, and they'd missed the last tube home. So that time I was working in the Sami community, which is in Kentish Town and Malden Road, a sort of burnt out, derelict area. And literally, I saw them floating up the street, the alcoholics everywhere. It's like burnt out buildings, and these angels are just floating up the street, coming to us. And I was just amazed. And they wanted someone to lie down, so I said, okay, we can provide a room. We had a night shelter, so we'll provide a room, no problem. And they didn't want it. They just had these chaddars to lie on. So they lie on the chaddars, and then so I said to the night watchman, just make sure you get me up early in the morning. I want to talk to these people. So I got up at 5 o'clock, very early, and they'd already left. 3:30 they got up and walked off. They walked down the prayer place. So I was just so impressed. So I too used to go to the temple on my day off and take prasadam home. And sometimes on the tube going back, it literally felt that everyone on the tube was chanting. I had that kind of almost a mystical experience. I was it was just so powerful, and it looked like everyone was chanting in the whole place. I'm sure they probably were. We hear about seeing the residents of Jagannath Puri. They see the devotees in their four-hour form. We see this. So we get these little glimpses. We get little honeymoon glimpses for ourselves. We all had so many wonderful experiences. I remember down in the tube, there was somebody put a poster of Krishna and Balaram on the wall, one of these old, and they were so gorgeous. That old Krishna and Balaram picture, and in the midst of all the concrete and the stench and the grime, there was this picture there, and it just, you know, and it's like you couldn't go anywhere really without somehow coming in contact with the devotees. Then in Kensington High Street, I met a devotee there. He said, "Hey man," and I said, "What?" I said, "Okay." He said, "You know something? You don't have to smoke dope to get high." Yeah, I've always felt that. I always believed that, you know. But it's like the potency was there. I just felt it sounded like it's a good thing to do, you know. So I came to the temple and started to eat prasad. And the feasts, I mean, when I joined, Dhananjaya Prabhu was the president. And when I arrived at night, I came in and went to his office, and he said, "Okay, well, you're welcome to stay. We know you've been visiting already." He said, "So where do you want to sleep?" I said, "Oh, wherever." He said, "Oh, you sleep on my desk." So I slept on top of his desk. And then in the morning, I was in the shower, and Tribhunath was there, and Tribhunath, what did he have me? He had my towel, I think. I said, "Excuse me, Prabhu, you got my towel." He said, "It's all right, Prabhu, I'm using it in Krishna service." So that's all right. It was all right. You know. Actually, he got a skin disease. Eventually, he got a real skin disease. So I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing, but we're a bit reckless. In fact, Tribhunath, I'm not talking about him. He was organising. He was the president, and he was organising Rath Yatra. And Naranarayan Prabhu came to do the Rath Yatra, and he was a hard taskmaster on Tribhunath. You know, Tribhunath couldn't get his rounds done. He was just always busy all day long. And then at night time he'd go out and do his rounds. So he told me one time he was chanting his rounds. He'd just wander off and just chant. And he said he woke up. He was lying just outside the Houses of Parliament, and a policeman, you know, was shaking and says, "You all right, son?" Because he'd fallen asleep chanting his Malati used to call it air temper, because she never could understand how it was functioning, you know, because there wasn't any money. But somehow, I mean, it was going on, and it was like on the edge, you know. Janananda was the treasurer, and it was a very easy job for him because he had nothing. He just used to go and hurry down, you know. Before I joined, I wanted to read the Bhagavad Gita. I'd heard about it, you know, this Bhagavad Gita, you know, famous book, and I really wanted a copy, and I thought the best place to get one would be, you know, on the Krishna temple. So I went and Dayananda, very tall, like a gazelle. He's probably, in the list of 27, he probably comes about 3, I think, I'm not sure. Anyway, he said, "Oh, no, this is an introductory book you need to get before you read the Bhagavad Gita." I said, "Oh, really? I don't want that one then." Okay, so we went downstairs, opened up the showroom door, and there's a stack of boxes in there, you know. And it was the Krishna book, just come, you know, from Japan. It was like, you know, these thick silver, two-volume set, and it was gorgeous. And he presented me these 2 books, and of course I bought them, and thinking now I'm getting an introduction, took them away to Kentish Town, to the derelict buildings, and every time I got, I was just reading. And you get to the end of the chapter, and it says anyone who reads this chapter will be purified, will, you know, basically become a Hare Krishna, you know. But I mean, what can you do? You know, Krishna's all attractive. I had to go to the next chapter and carry on. And I was becoming purified, So, and the devotees were going down Oxford Street, and I was so attracted to them. At the same time, I kind of sensed that this was very big thing. I mean, I have my long hair, you know, who wants to cut his hair off when you're, you know, those days, you know. So I used to avoid the devotees, actually. See them chanting on the street, and I just sort of go in the next street over, you know. But they got me in the end, you know.
You see them on the television?
Oh, yeah, I saw them on the top of the pops. I saw the sixth floor, on the top of the pops. It was number one, I think, was Jimmy Savile was doing the, yeah. Anyway, so they came on top of the pops, and then they went, it was so attractive. At the same time, the head, you know, the shaved head, it looked ugly to me. Look at you, I mean, look at you now. I'd rather get this off now, really. I mean, it's just how I thought then. And I said to my mother, I said, you never get me joining that lot. So they came here and they hid themselves in some gentleman's house. And of course, I know you all know the story of how they came out of hiding and probably got them in a van and didn't look at them till they were safely out of the way. And they came here and you know, really, I mean, Radha Londonishvaras, I've got to say, they're the most beautiful people. And I can prove it because Prabhupada wanted them on the Bhagavatam. So, you know, I know that Prabhupada here, all the deities in this no question. But Radha Londonishvaras, we are really fortunate. And somebody was saying, was it Kripa Moy last night saying, best city, London. You know the story Prabhupada told to Krishna? He said, I may as well tell it, it's a good story. It's applicable. This to me. So he said, of all the universes, you know, in this, you know, Tamar Krishna is thinking, this universe is the best universe. This is the first time he told this story. And of all the planets and all the planetary systems, etc., you know, eventually you get to the Earth planet, I think that it's the best planet, the Earth planet. And of all the countries in the Earth, America is the best country. You know? And of all the cities in America, you know, New York, it's in New York probably. New York is the best. And of all the streets in New York, you know, what street was it? Anyway, one street was, and all the buildings, and all the rooms in the building, this is the best room. Why? Because I'm sitting here. So that's how we tend to be, rather on the egocentric side of things. But we find out actually Krishna, and what a relief it is that Krishna is actually the center. Krishna's actually, you know, driving the chariot. He actually is in control, you know, and there's, so like that, all the worries go, you know, all those, just clap our hands in kirtan and there's no worry anymore. And as soon as we forget Krishna, then immediately, remember Krishna. So, probably used to say it's simple for the simple. Krishna consciousness.
Speak about how Prabhupada wanted this to be the lunch program.
The lunch
He
program,
wrote a letter
and we should speak about the lunch program.
because that's a service to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. The lunch program. Well, it's really started with the guest program because we were on Sankirtan and we were inviting people back, fully enthusiastic, to an empty temple. People would come, you know, like to the manor, and they'd be empty, and they'd serve something, and they'd go away again. So then we started the guest program, and then we had a bhakti program. So we had a little sort of thing going there, you know, for people to get involved. And then the next thing, we thought we'd have a lunch program in Berry Place. So we just made some simple facility. We've got something to cook. We've got some little tables. Radha Priya went out with some boxes in shops and put invitations for people to take when they went in the shop. The Sankirtan devotees went on the street. You know who you are, with the cards, and we made a little card. This card is worth £1.25 towards a free vegetarian meal. You know, so then they come round to the temple and sit at one of the tables on one of these little cushions as we've got here, and we would give a little talk. And Yashashvini was the original one on the door. Now there was a glass pane in the door that we have in. She'd look in and scouting around who was likely candidate. If somebody likes prasadam, that's a very good sign. There are various things we could knock off. And so that was right. So then she'd tell me, and then I had a little office upstairs, and then, lo and behold, we had a system where we could phone up Edgware and somebody would come down to the station and, pick them up. And the letter. Yes. Excuse me. You say.
But Radharani is providing everything. So you should always have prasad for anyone who comes, at least some sabji, puri. He said, don't worry about paying for it because Radharani is providing everything. So from then we always have prasad for at least like 5, 6. I can't remember how many numbers he said, but always have it there. And that was the lunch program that we started doing then. That was such a wonderful thing.
Because he said Radha is managing.
Yeah,
she's
providing
managing
it for us. So because we didn't have money then, but he said you don't worry about money. Radharani is providing.
Yeah, one day we did.
Chanting all the time when people come in for lunch.
Well, did I do that?
Yeah, you always have the Prabhupada all the time.
That's yeah, we did. Sometimes we didn't have any plates and spoons. Well, we had plates or greaseproof paper. And no spoons. So we just said, "Oh, it's okay. It's a tradition. We taught them to feed with their fingers. A new way of So it's still the same, I'm sure. You just got to somehow find ways to.
We used to go to the market at the end of the day and get the leftover things, boxes and things that they couldn't sell. So they would know us and give for Krishna.
It's true.
And one of my favourite times really was downstairs in the basement in the evenings, bowls of hot milk, and somebody would read Krishna book to us. And that was such a beautiful time, just these metal bowls, hot milk on the floor, and Krishna book, isn't it?
Yeah. I saw a picture of Jai Hari Prabhu last night. He was the Sankirtan leader. And one day I was very new, and he said, we're going to have a meeting, a Sankirtan meeting. Oh, it's an important meeting, this is going to get, a bit scary. We get in and just, okay, sit down everybody, and you read Krishna book. That was the Shravanam Kirtanam Meetanam, that was all it was, hear Krishna book. Then there'd be the Harinams every day. I mean, we're going over old ground like you. I'm sure in the last week you've heard this, but we used to have, the devotees would get a big pot and they'd cook, and they'd come to Mahabharata with the pot, and we'd all go on Harinam all the way up to Mahabharata, slowly distributing, and then we'd have prasad. Pot of dal, rice.
I remember this. It was sitting Krishna in my blood.
Yeah, Mahabharata. All day. Yeah, I literally thought it was worse than the army. I thought, I had to mentally prepare myself to join because it looked like for the rest of my life, that's all I'd be doing.
We didn't have our own clothing. We used to go to the laundrette and come back with a pile of dhotis and a pile, and you just take out one or two.
Including Brahmin underwear. It would crackle, wouldn't it? It would go to those machines and you'd be pulling, sparking out, because there's all artificial. You get a roll, we go to John Lewis and you get a roll of cloth, cut it up, and it would get gradually shorter because people kind of get softened their Brahmin underwear. So And at night time, we'd all be sandwiched, even at the best of times, we'd all be lying in the room, And I remember there was a devotee, Koshika, and he was a very, he looked a bit like Rod Stewart. He was like a really, dynamic character. And he came out, put his head in the door, and he just said good night to us in such an encouraging, loving way, and it was just, those kind of things were so sweet. You get some words of encouragement just when you need it. Like Jairi, for instance, one time. I was going to leave. I decided I was going to stay for a year. That was, my decision. But before that came up, thought, I've got to get out of here. This is so I was going to go, and he said, well, Prabhu, before you go, just have some prasad. You know? And it was, I mean, by the Londonishvaras, 6 o'clock Maha Prasad, and it's just, you know, everyone knows, you know, it's heaven. It's beyond heaven, you know, it's Krishna Pali, you know. It's, so then he gave me the whole offering. Seriously, the whole tray. It was just a huge tray. And he put me into the shoe room. So it's a little room downstairs where all those books were, that now was shoes. Closed the door. And I was alone in there with this plate of and I, you know, I'm definitely going to go, but I couldn't, you know, I couldn't resist it. And then he came in, you know, like a while later, I don't know how long later, he came in and says, how are you doing in there? I was just sitting there. That was the last time I ever thought of leaving. In fact, it was sometimes in the morning, you know, it's like, we'd hear, you know, oh, the temple's got no money, you know. And at those times, Dhananjaya would suddenly say, oh, we're having a feast today, it's a special day for a feast. And, you know, how is he doing this? But somehow we'll be there. We you know, just those worst times, it's like all eat prasad.
What I would like to say, you know, here are two extremely dear devotees to Srila Prabhupada. Is, you know, Mother Mondakini, and she arrived from France, and another is Mother Manjuari. She was born in America, and actually these devotees, they are senior devotees to all of us, and they receive extraordinary mercy from Srila Prabhupada personally, like Mother Manjuari. Srila Prabhupada met her parents, and also he instructed her, and he says, as far as I remember, actually she showed me extreme mercy. Mother Manjuari is the most sweet person in this universe. And Mother Mondakini as well. Actually, she met Prabhu Vishnu when he was not yet devotee, he was a karmi. And she was preaching to him, and he just arrived to the temple and became a sannyasi now. And this Mother Mondakini, who she was preaching to him, she very influential devotee, Mother Mondakini, both of them. So Srila Prabhupada says concerning Mother Manjuari, he says, if you worship Radha deities, Rukmini, Dvarakadish, yes, Mother Manjuari?
Krishna.
Yes, so you will go back to Godhead. If you remember always Krishna, you will go back to Godhead in this lifetime. So Srila Prabhupada loved her very much and showed her lots of attention and give her personal instructions. Maybe you can say something, Mother Manjuari.
No, I'm not coming up there. I didn't expect this. Srila Prabhupada did say to me one day, he said he was really pleased by we were looking after the deities in Los Angeles. My husband was Jaya Tirtha. And we came to England in 1976. Srila Prabhupada sent us here. And we served, you know, I had a 6-week-old child and we arrived. And I was a pujari in Los Angeles for, since 1972 I took Brahma initiation. And Srila Prabhupada was very, very kind to us and to my husband. And he did say one day he was pleased the way the deities looked one day, and he said who has dressed the deities? And I thought, oh my God, I've done something wrong. And I'm sorry. I didn't expect to speak today, but I'll tell you one story because it's quite sweet. Srila Prabhupada said, who has dressed the deities? And they said, Manjuali has dressed the deities. And he said, I want to see her immediately. And I thought, oh my God, I've committed some offense, you know. And they ran down. I was cooking an offering in the kitchen, and they ran down. Prabhupada wants to see you right now. So I went upstairs, and I just offered my obeisances, and I can still, in my mind's eye, remember the room in Los Angeles where Srila Prabhupada was, his rooms. And he told us, his room was blue and it had orange curtains. And he told us that he liked that because when he was a child, we asked him what color his room would be when we'd redecorated it. And he said that was the color of his room when he was a boy. And so we made the room that color. And Srila Prabhupada sat with the sun was coming in, and there was bougainvillea around the window facing that way, and it was morning, and he was sitting there, and he was golden. Absolutely, the sun was coming from behind him, and you could see it was a transcendental experience just to come into the presence of a saint and of a beautiful, and my Guru Maharaj. And I went in and offered my obeisances. I was absolutely shaking, a little bit like I'm shaking now because I'm not expecting to speak. And Srila Prabhupada just looked up, and there was silence, there was a pause, and he looked, and he just radiated love. He just radiated absolute acceptance and love and caring, and he just looked at me and he said, "You have done nicely." And I said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, there's a whole team." And he said, "Krishna is looking very beautiful." And I said, "Only by your mercy, Srila Prabhupada, you've picked us up and you brought us here and you've taught us everything." And he said that if you keep Krishna in the center, he said, this life will be perfect and the next life will be perfect. For you will go back to Godhead. So that was the personal instruction, actually, that we always have to hold the Lord, to hold the holy name, actually, because the Lord is held in the holy name. We have to hold the Lord in our hearts and hold him in our witness, in our minds as well, and actually serve. So a personal instruction actually to all of us, really, that, we have to love Krishna, we have to love God, we have to love our Gurudev, because our Gurudev is our link with God. He is not different to God. He holds the note of divinity and hope and transcendental love. So Prabhupada, and then he motioned to Shrutikirti. He wanted his purse. And he took out $20 as a donation for the deities. And he handed me, and he called me forward, and he handed me the $20. He said, "This is for Krishna." So he was teaching us that dakshina, giving, serving, personally. And I said to him, there was a festival coming, I said, "Srila Prabhupada, this will go to the next outfit." And he just smiled. And he said, "Thank you very much." And I made my obeisances and left, and I thanked him. And that moment in time was beyond time, because Srila Prabhupada actually showed everything in a few moments, and he gave essential instruction. One other thing, since we're with Radha Londonishvaras, and I served at Bhaktivedanta Manor, so I didn't actually serve Radha Londonishvaras so much, but when we came in 76, we came here often, and these deities are absolutely beautiful. I remember one day in Los Angeles, though, when Prabhupada had darshan of the deities, and he looked over and he said, "Krishna is smiling." But then he looked and winked and he said, "Londonishvaras smiles the most."
And now concerning Mother Mondakini, so Mother Mondakini, she was personal cook to Srila Prabhupada. She was the most fortunate. Wherever Srila Prabhupada was coming to England, she immediately was preparing. She was completely, she couldn't sleep, she couldn't eat. She was only thinking how Prabhupada can be satisfied. but she is extremely strong and very determined. She helps me a lot in spiritual life. By her mercy, actually, in Manjual, I am here. And she said one day, I am just going to India. One day, she just said, I'm going to India. I said, my God, why are you going to India? And she said, because she was determined to know what is important in cooking, because she actually wrote a book about cooking, highly intelligent. And she says, I am going. So I was thinking, my God, I didn't have any money. She just was able to have money to go to India. I was so poor. So she packed one luggage, and put her saris few inside, and she goes, to India. So when she comes back, I say, Prabhu, what's happened? Why you go to India? Oh, she says, I am going to see Srila Prabhupada. So, she come back, and I say, so what's happened? What Prabhupada tell you? And she said, I tell you, Rohinandana, what Prabhupada tell me, very important thing. First, he says, you never cook for anyone else your life, only for Krishna. It was first instruction. So that means if you have a husband, so you should cook for Krishna in a husband's heart, because husband has Krishna in a heart. So you can cook for a husband, not for a husband, but for Krishna, because Prabhupada says never cook for anybody else, only for Krishna. And this, it was very important instruction for me. And next he said, cleanliness. Krishna doesn't accept anything from dirty kitchen. So this also very important was for me to hear in the beginning. And the last instruction, he said, Radharani, never accept 1 second late prasadam, punctuality. So when I hear that, I honestly must say, I never, when I cook, doesn't happen even once that I was late with my offering. I prefer to come, 3-4 hours before, offering, to be sure that my offering is in time, because I am so much afraid and to displease Srila Prabhupada, because these are his instructions. And Mother Mandakini Prabhu, please say a few words. I will be, please, would you like to hear something from Mother Mandakini?
Just these few words. All glories to our dear Kulangana, Prabhu. Actually, when we came by car, a few of us, we had the good fortune to come by Russell Square, where Prabhupada was taking his morning walk. And then we went to see a burial place where we had our obeisances. And it reminded me of one story you just mentioned that was quite mystical. At this time, Srila Prabhupada was in burial place. And I was doing his fruit offering, washing his dhoti in his shower, and I had a little time spare. So I thought, well, I'm going to distribute a few books or magazines quickly before getting to the next duty. And as I was coming down, Aditi reminded me that Srila Prabhupada was looking through the window. And I didn't go for very long, and there were so many nice people, and particularly one young boy, very, very receptive, very nice. He took, I don't remember if it was a magazine or a book. Then I came back to the temple, and Prabhupada was looking through the window, and he said, "Thank you very much, thank you very much." And I was wondering, why did he say thank you very much? And actually, that nice boy came very quickly to the temple, and he became an exalted devotee. He became Prabhu Vishnu Swami. So it was quite mystical, because that thank you very much, it seemed that Prabhupada knew that, and he wanted to get that wonderful devotee back to him. And I was just reading before coming here that wonderful book, Salted Bread. And I think there was one part where Prabhupada Vishnu was giving a lecture in these countries, like ex-communist countries. And one devotee told him, it's very dangerous, maybe you shouldn't give that lecture. It may be a great trouble. And he says, oh, it's something like, it's a great, what else can be more wonderful than to die for Krishna while preaching or something. So that was what I remembered when you mentioned that, Prabhuji.
I was just thinking of a morning darshan in Prabhupada's room, and there were two devotees that I just loved to watch their interaction with Prabhupada, because there was so much love and so much respect, and I'm sure it was with other people, but these two devotees were Pradyumna and Mukunda Maharaj. So I remember one morning we all were in Prabhupada's room, and Mukunda very quietly said, Prabhupada, please excuse me. And Prabhupada looked and he said, you must go. And Mukunda said, yes, I have to go to work. And Prabhupada, you could just see Prabhupada's sadness that Mukunda, was going to be leaving. There was just so much love there. And then Prabhupada said, you will be back tonight? And Mukunda said, yes, Prabhupada. And it was just so nice to see that exchange of love between them. And another time there was a darshan in Prabhupada's room, and it was the day when sisters give to their brothers. What's it called? Rakhi. So an Indian lady gave to Prabhupada a little bracelet. It had kind of flowers and something more durable than flowers. And I was taking care of Prabhupada's room, and I remember it must have been the next morning, that was in the garbage can. And so I couldn't resist. I took it, and I still have it. And I remember during the time when Tribhuvanath was ill in South America. And he really was a dear brother. He really was like, of all my brothers, he was one of the dearest. And I remember I offered to send him that. I wanted to give that to him, but he passed away during that time. But there were so many great souls. There were so many great souls in Krishna consciousness. It's a great blessing. Hare Krishna.
I can say one thing very interesting actually. We was distributing books, and Srila Prabhupada came last time to England in Bhaktivedanta Manor, and I was this time Sankirtan devotee, and Srila Prabhupada was calling Tamar Krishna Maharaj, and he says, you go to this, you gather these Sankirtan mothers, it was about 12 of us, gather them, and you tell them, this time Prabhupada was 82 or 81, last time when he came, 81, and he said, you go and you say to this mother that I am a young boy. This is what's happened. And indeed, Maharaj gathered us in a prasadam room, we sit all together, and he says, I just come here to tell you that Prabhupada asked me to tell you that he is a young boy. So, I was astonished to hear that. And I was thinking, my God, I have to change my mentality. I am definitely not this body. Because it's such a great personality, such a great philosopher and scientist, having 81 years old, that he is a young boy. So I must be also younger. I was thinking. And, I was actually after 10 or 12 years, I was thinking maybe I was in hallucination because it was so incredible. And Tamar Krishna Maharaj was coming quite often to visit Bhaktivedanta Manor. He was very interesting how I could this Maharati suite and give me instructions. He was my Siksha Guru. So I come and approach him and say, Maharaj, actually I feel, sometimes maybe I was not completely sane. Did you call us and tell us that Prabhupada is a young boy? And he says, yes, Kulangana. He asked me to tell you that he is a young boy. So it was confirmed. So like this I understand very well that I am definitely not this body.
Once somebody said to Prabhupada, Swamiji, you look so young. The Prabhupada turned with the most charming smile and says, oh, did somebody say I was old?
I can't. Hare Krishna? Hare Krishna? No. I can't really say much about Londonishvaras, but I can say something about some of their devotees. I'd like to say something about Rohinandana Prabhu, because we actually owe. He did a tremendous job in helping to establish this yatra here, in terms of devotee making in the late 70s and early 80s. The first time I came to this temple, it was a building site. This room was just empty. There was no plasterwork, no lino, just bare boards on the floor, nails sticking out. I went to Berry Place to try and visit, and there was no one there, and they said, I knocked on the door, and someone said, you have to go to 10 Soho Street. So I went there, and I was brought upstairs and sat on the end of a small, low stage, which is now the bottom of that altar, that low bit there. And I was sitting there, and this devotee came in and gave me some prasadam, and it was Rohinandana. And the next time I met Rohinandana was at Stonehenge Festival later that year. And then I met him again at Chaitanya College. And then later, I got a card on Oxford Street, come here for a free meal. And I thought, oh, that's nice. And there's Rohinandana again, giving the class. Later I got to find out more about Rohinandana Prabhu. That he established this lunch program here in Soho Street. And I know that he personally went out and he collected to buy all the paraphernalia to make the little tables himself. He went out and collected, then he made them himself. And then he would give the classes. And he actually really, him and his wife, they really established this lunch program here. They masterminded the whole plan. A couple of years later, I ended up joining the temple, and I went to Chaitanya College to do the Bhakta program. And again, it was Rohinandana who had masterminded this Bhakta program, and he was teaching us all about Krishna. It was a very wonderful program that lasted 3 months, and you could join it at any time and just go right around until it finished. So it was a wonderful idea, because anyone who was slightly interested, I said immediately they could join and carry on. So I'd like to thank Rohinandana Prabhu for that. 1 year also. 1 year also, he was given a quota by the GBC at the time. He was given a quota to make 108 devotees in a year, and he did it. He made 108 devotees in a year.
honestly, it seemed easy at the time. Everything seemed so easy. It was just, it's just like, it's so easy. Bhumadev used to go on the street and we used to interview people on the street and bring them back to the temple. And it was just working. We were all together. It was just simple.
The other devotee. The other devotee I'd like to mention who's not able to be with us here today is Tribhuvanatha Prabhu. He told us a few stories about Berry Place. One of them was about the Harinams in those days. That they would, after Prasadam, everyone would clean the temple for half an hour. And then at 9:30, they would do Harinam from Berry Place all the way up to Marble Arch, which is about 2 miles. And then they would come all the way back to the temple, and then go all the way back again to Marble Arch. So it's now 6 miles of Harinam, and it was then lunchtime, and then they would have dal and rice at Marble Arch. And then in the afternoon they would go from Marble Arch all the way to Berry Place, then all the way from Berry Place back to Marble Arch, and then back to the temple again, and it would be time for 7 o'clock arti. And they would go in and have 7 o'clock arti, and then at 7:30 they would go once more to Marble Arch and arrive back at the temple about 10:30, 11 at night. So he said they were doing this for some years. And he said that one night he woke up and there was, 12 or 14 devotees in the room, all sleeping side by side. And he said every single devotee was chanting in their sleep. Hare Krishna. So they were chanting all day and they were chanting all night. 24-hour kirtan. So I thought that was very amazing. Another time he told me that when he was temple president, they had some trouble with the neighbours. And Prabhupada was there. And this man from the council had come. And there was some complaint. And so Prabhupada said, take him to the pub on the corner and buy him a gin and tonic. So Tribhuvanatha took the man to the pub and bought him gin and tonic. See, Prabhupada said, this is what they understand in your country. And so they didn't have any trouble after that. There was a time before that when they were having trouble. They had hatched this plan because there were windows in the doors. I think this story was mentioned before, earlier this week. But there were glass windows in the doors. I never saw them because I came later, but I was just hearing the story. And you could see into the temple room. And so some delegation had come from the council and were complaining about the noise. And the devotees have said that, oh, no, there's no noise from here, it's soundproof. And so they had a whole kirtan going on in the temple room, and they were miming. They were leaping around, kartals, mridangas, a full kirtan, swinging devotees around and around, the whole thing was going on. And so they had someone to give a sign, like when to actually chant. And so Tribhuvanatha said, yes, look, it's soundproof. And he'd open the door, and the kirtan, you could hear this full-on kirtan coming out, really loud. And he shut the door again, you couldn't hear anything. He said, it's going on anything. And then he said, yes, look, and he'd open the door again. So like that, the council were convinced that the temple was soundproof by this plan. So, this one story I heard. It may not be quite accurate, I don't know. I heard this story. So, Tribhuvanatha Prabhu ki jai. One devotee here, Kasturi Manjari. She's the wife of Parama Karuna. She served here for many years at Soho Street in the 80s and 90s. Her husband Parama Karuna was running Rath Yatra for 6 years. until 1996, I think. The Giant Eye Prabhu's asked me to introduce her and ask her to say a few words about Sarah Street here.
I met the devotees through my husband, and him and his friends already had some books and were chanting, and I just moved into the house where they lived and met them and started visiting the temple, and then we joined in 1989, and I don't know what else to say.
Tell us about your service. You were a secretary and you did a lot of service. What was your service?
Somehow I was always secretary to the temple president, which for quite a while was Bhagavad Shrine, and then Dharma Guru.
What was it like working for Bhagavad Shrine? How did you have a nice relationship? There's some of your stories, and that's some little bit. There must be some there too. We're going to squeeze a little bit out.
Stop putting me on the spot.
I'm on the spot.
It was really nice actually. Bhagavad was always really loving and kind. It was really nice. Thank you to Rohinandana Prabhu, who was the priest at our wedding actually, so thank you for that. That was great.
One time on Harinal, there was this copper, and he was new, he was totally green from Wales, and he's looking at us, and he suddenly said, "Well, can I help you?" So alright, so then he followed on, he was leaving us. And we get to a road, he stand in the road and stop the traffic. We don't go across. Now, he didn't know that, that they were getting the paddy wagon. So quite often, like in Berry Place, one time we came back after Harinal, we'd escaped. We had a system where we just all went different directions. So we all got back to the temple more or less. But then the paddy wagon came to the temple, and they just came in, they just ran right into Berry Place, dragging devotees up, putting them on the bench. So that was the kind of thing that was going on, like Many was saying, spend the night there sometimes, and so this one time this policeman was guiding, and we just felt so, going along, we were, and then after a while, another policeman came along, and we could see he was very concerned. He went over to the Welsh policeman, whispered in his ear, and they just slunk off. So there was all kinds of amazing things that would go on. We got arrested one time, and it was Christmas time and it was cold, and we had to sit. You had to fill the forms in Marylebone Police Station. And it was going on, you people, all this, and filling the forms in. But really, they would, the policemen would get it like 2 hours off, to go there. They get out the cold, they sit around telling jokes, and that's where we were leaving. The very heavy sergeant, he said, "Keep it up, lads, you're doing a good job." That's a funny relationship. Another time at Christmas, after the Christmas Eve, we'd done the marathon, and there were magazines everywhere. I mean, Mahaksha, he was, I think he did 600 BTGs one day in the tubes. And we couldn't believe how he'd done something. But you'd see the result, and a lot of them just got chucked, you could imagine, at the end, So then the police were coming by, and they were just waving at us, Hare Krishna. So it's a very sweet time, actually, because we did act, the Hare Krishnas were, we were part of the London scene, no doubt, And when we stopped chanting, because there was a period when we actually stopped going on Oxford Street for a while, for various reasons, and the people who used to complain about us going by. They missed us. They set their watches, you know. The stickers, oh, you need some. Yeah. Well, we used to do these Jagannath stickers. You know, I still do, maybe. And there were blue ones, or green ones, red ones, you know. And the policeman comes out, one devotee, and says, "You got a blue one?" And he took his hat off, and he had it all stuck on the other one. Another time, I was distributing, a policeman whispered me over. He was in a little side alley, you know. Come on, I go over and he wants to buy a book. How much are they? He took a book. Don't tell anybody. I mean, we're getting into the realm of Sankirtan stories now, and I'm sure you're all past masters in that. I mean, the London Sankirtan devotees, Prabhu Vishnu and Janananda, and who else was going on that travelling Sankirtan? Mahavishnu Swami, Dhirashanta. Yes, Bhakti Vikash Maharaj. He joined a bit later. And they would. Well, that was different. There was another part. But they would go in a little van and all week, and they'd come back at the weekend to the very place. And then we'd have a festival, because this energy coming in, you know, the Sankirtan devotee came in, and they were all our heroes, you know. When I first joined in Berry Place, I was told, somebody said, "Do you know we've got a pure devotee?" He lives in Scotland, he's called Keishore. And he was the president there in Scotland at the time. So, and anyway, they'd go out and they'd come back, and the weather was so cold. And Prabhupada said, "How are you facing?" He says, "You just, all this cold and weather, you're just laughing about it, you're just playing with it." In fact, I have another Tribhuvannath story. In fact, in Edinburgh, he felt a bit funny doing Sankirtan. He walked into a shop, sort of staggered in, and collapsed. He had hypothermia. And nice to see. He used to play the mridanga on Oxford Street, and his fingers, they would split on this side with the cold. They just split right over, and he'd carry on. There'd be blood going in your face, and he wouldn't even notice. It's just the atmosphere in Berry Place. I mean, it was so electric. It was just, it was incredible. You know, just being there. I mean, it's here. I can feel it now. It's all the time. Of course, especially when Prabhupada used to come and stay sometimes. It's just amazing. I remember seeing Prabhupada's Vyasa being carried up Haverstock Hill. You know, the whole thing going up the street. You know, 4 or 5 big Vyasa from Berry Place. For Prabhupada's program, and then rush back again. You know, Prabhupada would sit in the front of the van. He'd sit up there on the side to go to the program. He'd be in the front of the van with the driver, and everyone would be just crammed in the back. Another Berry Place story. Tribhuvannath told me this one. He said one time he was up in the night, and he looked through the keyhole of Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada was pacing up and down chanting on his beads, and he said there were just tears just jetting out of his eyes.